For the Tuesday, December 4th, 2012, First County Council of Cecil County Legislative Session Day meeting. Would all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council, in front of you, you have a revised legislative agenda.
For the benefit of the public and the council, there are some proposed changes to the agenda from our work session this morning. And I'd like to suggest that we read, in addition, I have another one. I'd like to move public comment before council comment so that the council can respond to the public if they choose. I'd like to hear what the public has to say with their comments, and quite frankly, it allows us, if we would like to put it into our comments, we can address the public regarding the issues that the public may bring to us. So I'm proposing to reverse the order of council comments and public comment. And I'd like to make...
Commissioner Councilman, I have to get used to that. Councilman Hodge, I would like to bring it to your attention that even when the public is commenting, whomever they are commenting to, we have the option to respond. That was specifically stated.
Okay, but this would give us, all of us, personally, I don't think that's a good practice, but it allows us to voluntarily decide whether or not we want to respond, and I don't see any harm in reversing that. So I'll make a motion, number one, to modify the agenda to reverse the council comments and the public comment.
There's a motion on the floor to reverse the public comment before council comments. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, at this time, I would like to have further discussion on this, along with the revised agenda. I'll be voting against the revised agenda because of the last minute additions, and one of them in particular definitely needs to be vetted out in a work session meeting first. So regarding the movement of the public comment about council, I was looking for the discussion on this.
I am voting against the motion. I'm not necessarily opposed, and I think, Vicki, we had just had this discussion about where this should maybe be properly placed, but I don't want to set this precedent of bringing up last minute resolutions. We have this revised agenda, and I guess we'll get to that in a second, but I don't know. I would like to have a little bit more discussion on this, and that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, the second amendment to the agenda, I'd like to propose that we discuss the process for appointment to replace Terry Moore's District 2 council seat. We failed to discuss that this morning, and I'm not asking for us to come to an agreement tonight or make a decision tonight, but I think we should discuss the how we should move forward with filling that appointment. And I think that time is of the essence. We have 30 days. If we don't get it done in 30 days, we won't have a choice. Someone else will make the decision for us. If we want to waste a week, I think that's to our detriment. So I move that we add the discussion for the process of appointment to the District 2 council seat to the agenda tonight.
There's a motion on the floor to move to add discussion process for appointment to the District 2 council seat on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a first and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I'm definitely going to vote against this. There's a lot of issues surrounding that discussion, and needs to be vetted out in a work session.
If I might speak, No one asked for basically a vote, only to discuss. Is that correct, Mr. Hodge?
Yes.
Is there any reason we cannot discuss it in front of this crowd?
It's not on the agenda.
Yeah, there have not been, this was not included on the agenda, and, the proper placement would be in a work session, not an evening meeting. A vote, possibly, but discussion, that would be a work session.
Sure, and I agree, I mean, this is another last minute change, I mean, we left here this afternoon with a very bare bones agenda, and my God, I lit this thing up like a Christmas tree, you know, this afternoon. I don't know what's going on here, but this agenda was developed, approved, sent out to the public last week before Ms. Moore took her action, it was reviewed this morning, and, well, I would rather, you know, debate this in the work session next week, I'd have no problem with that, but to place it on the agenda at the last moment, I just think it's appropriate.
I think that under the circumstances, with our first meeting, we just got sworn in yesterday, and there's a lot of things that we didn't anticipate, and I think we need to get on track, and the sooner we get on track with taking care of the people's business, the better.
I have to agree with them. I mean, we have a limited amount of time. If we don't make the decision to get this ball rolling, we will basically have foregone the ability to notify qualified people to apply for this position or be considered for this position. We will lose another full week.
And my point of the discussion is only to inform the public that they have an opportunity to bring their expression of interest to us. And that's what the point is, that we should discuss that so that the public knows that it's an option for them. If we do that, we'll just waste the entire week.
I would encourage the public to either send in their resumes to, the, courthouse or the administration building, to the council, or to the Republican Central Committee, should there be a court action to, question, the legitimacy of, Ms. Moore's, party switch, to cover their bases. So, nothing would stop that process.
The public doesn't know that they have that option at this point, I do believe.
Not unless that's correct, not unless we agree to have a press release and notify the public.
And that is essentially what we're requesting tonight.
Well, and as we're getting into this discussion, it just reminds me that we should be having this discussion, at a work session, and there's a whole lot more that goes along with this. So, I call for this.
The motion and second on the floor to add discussion items for appointment to the District 2 Council seat to the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
2 to 2.
Okay, for consideration of the council, I'd like to make another amendment to the agenda. Based on this morning's vote, that we could not conclude and have a consensus on appointing a temporary president of the council. I have formulated a resolution for consideration tonight.
Point of order, we already voted not to amend the agenda. This is a new item.
No, we did not vote. We're voting on these individual motions to amend the agenda. I have a third one that I'd like you to consider. And basically, I think this resolution has been passed out to everyone. Yes, Vicki?
Yes.
Okay. The bottom line is, now therefore be resolved by the County Council of Cecil County, Maryland, that the council members of District 1, 3, 4, and 5 shall collectively act to execute the duties of the President of the Council and shall act to conduct the business of the Council. So basically what it's doing, it's formalizing what we decided to do at the work session today. And it doesn't create any powers, more powers or less powers for any individual council member, but it does formalize that we've decided that we were going to do without a president until such time as we were able to fill the vacant position, and we will act in concert together to make those decisions. And that's what this resolution is doing. I'd like to introduce it tonight for your consideration and adoption at a future meeting. But it also will give some legality to the actions that we take tonight, including our budget amendments and any other official business that we make. it will give some credence and legality to it.
Council.
So my motion is to add,
Go ahead, sorry. Your motion?
my motion is to add to the agenda an introduction and consideration of resolution 02-2012 interim council procedures.
There's a motion on the floor to add introduction and consideration of resolution 02-2012 and council procedures to the evening meeting agenda. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second. Open it for discussion.
Attorney Wilson, when we voted down the approval to the revised agenda, are these items supposed to be discussed?
Well, I think,
Please speak into the microphone.
I think the commissioner was talking about there, he had said that there were several items he put on there.
I believe those were the 2 items.
Now, there's 3, and we have never voted against revising the agenda. We voted against the individual revisions that I requested.
2, they voted against the first 2 individual, revisions that he wanted. Now, this is, I guess, a third.
All right.
I'm only offering this as an introduction for your consideration so that we can formalize what we agreed to this morning.
Attorney Wilson, did you have something you
I
wanted?
don't see, well, I don't know what you did this morning, I wasn't there, but I do not see where this is going to do anything except, combine all of you to, take the action of the presidency for the time being until a 5th councilman comes and then you can elect the president, whoever you want to be.
I believe, I think what this does is allow each one of us to bring things to the agenda, without question. Whereas, there's gonna be collectively, an agreement on the agenda the way it is now. And we can't bring things at the last minute, to add to the agenda. So I feel more confident in the arrangement we had this morning. Does that make sense to you?
I'm not,
As a
I said something
president-
probably, I don't know how it's gonna affect the agenda, because if you all collectively come forth and then somebody still tries to amend it, it's still gonna have to have a vote of you all as councilmen.
I thought the president, though, the president had the ability to add to or remove from the agenda.
Oh, you don't have a president this time.
We would have 4 presidents.
You know, I think it's just not like that, and we have to work collectively.
Because now therefore we resolve, we will work collectively to execute the duties of the council.
Well, I think it's open to interpretation. You're either, yeah. I'm okay with the,
Collectively.
I think we're
Th-
acting collectively the way the arrangement was this morning.
Okay, but formally, I don't think that this formalizes our understanding. I don't think I've read anything into this, or I haven't put anything in writing that we weren't formally agreeing to. And I think it adds legitimacy and legality to our understanding.
Attorney Wilson, do you see a reason for this, resolution? Is there a benefit to this?
That's not my duty to tell you if it's benefit or not. I think it will move things along in your meetings until you have such time that a 5th council person is appointed and you have an election of the presidency.
How
Right now,
is
you're-
this document going to help move things along? That's, I.
Hopefully you all work together.
Well,
I'm not trying to be serious about this, I'm serious about that.
Okay, so this
And that's
is
the
the
idea.
magic
Now-
document that's gonna help us work together. I see.
Now, may I also say that this is introduction, and if you want to tweak the language to satisfy your taste better, then we can do that between now and the next meeting.
Tell you what, I'll take a look at it, more closely and see if there's, any benefit that I didn't gather the first time. And we can talk about it at the next work session.
Okay. The motion is to introduce it in tonight's meeting, and we would not approve it tonight. We would approve it at our next public meeting, and we can change it between now and then. So the motion is to put it on the agenda for discussion and introduction.
There was a motion and a second.
I don't think I've had my say on this yet. This is the 3rd last minute change for those who are following along. in the crowd, I spoke to Mr. Turbola earlier. This is basically at our discretion how we want to proceed. This appears to be a suggestion. I have to admit, I'm a bit perplexed by this resolution, how we would all serve as acting president of the council, but maybe that's just me. But I'm voting no on the motion.
I have to say that it was not a known issue 2 days ago or 1 day ago. It was less than 12 hours ago where we could not come to an agreement on electing a president of this council. So in my opinion, if I knew that we were going to not come to a conclusion, I would have issued this resolution much earlier. The fact is that none of us knew the end result of our discussions this morning at our work session.
Call
So-
for the vote.
I'm sorry?
I'd suggest we call for the vote.
Talk.
Do what?
If we're going to add this to the agenda, I'd like to call for the vote.
There's a motion on the floor to introduce Resolution 02-2012, interim council procedures for the agenda. There's a motion and a second on the floor. Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
2-0. Moving on with the agenda, all of the items on for approval of the revised agenda have been voted down. We'll proceed with the agenda as originally published. The next item is council comments. Councilman Hodge?
I'm disappointed that the two council members, I'm sorry, it's gonna take a while to get used to commissioners and council, but we did have our meeting, our first council meeting this morning, our work session, and it was very disappointing that we could not agree on a president to keep this group working to take care of the people's business. It's unfortunate that we can't be flexible enough to move forward with the business that we need to transact. I hope that this is not a adversarial relationship from day one. There is no intent on my part to make this a win and lose situation. I hope that eventually we'll get some trust amongst us and we can move forward.
I'll keep this.
Councilman Dunn?
Sure. Thanks for coming tonight. We look forward to hearing from you, and hopefully we can move through this quickly.
Just for clarity, we did propose a few options, and Councilman Hodge and Councilman newly elected McCarthy didn't support our options either. So I guess what Councilman Hodge is saying is because we didn't agree with him, we're not moving forward. I thought it was a good solution. We got through the agenda this morning. We did take care of some business. This is going to be a difficult situation, and we're going to do the best we can. But we have to make sure that we're doing our job, what we told the voters we were going to do in the process. So try to keep it as positive as possible. Thank you.
Councilman McCarthy?
I think I see this totally different. We're moving from a commissioner form of government. You folks have been doing it for many years. I'm brand new at it. And now we're doing the charter government. I'm certain there's going to be a slip between the cup and the lip. And the thing is Mr. Hodge has presented you with options to correct problems which will only become compounded and become more critical in due time if we don't address them soon. This has nothing to do with passing any laws, any ordinances. It's just opening it up to discussion so we can make sensible decisions sooner as opposed to doing them later. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is public comment. Thank you. Each speaker will be given 5 minutes for public comment. First on the list is Joe Carabetta. Please state your name and your address for the record.
Joe Carabetta, 1611 Carpenters Point Road, Perryville, Maryland. First, let me congratulate the two newly elected council members. It'll be an interesting 4 years. Second will be carryover of old business from the last meeting, which I brought up. And what I'm asking the council to do is put in writing, and actually during the cozy corner or whatever we had earlier, I was asked to draft some language, which I'll be glad to do to assist you in your efforts, to put in writing to the State Highway Administration that the guardrail so close to the crossroads has created a dangerous situation, and if it's not corrected, we're going to start stacking bodies up. And I mean this, especially in a car. If you're in a big SUV, you might see the roofs of oncoming cars, maybe. This has created a serious safety problem that needs to be corrected. They need to be cut back. The sight distances are not right coming out of crossroads. Third, I guess the only one here from the Central Committee. Let me just back up a little bit. I want to thank Mike Dunn for his years of service on the Central Committee. He was forced to resign yesterday because of the provisions in the charter. Thank you, Mike. But third, the Central Committee, Republican Central Committee, is moving forward with the intended process that was intended by the charter to pick the replacement that we're now arguing about tonight. I don't think anyone ever envisioned that we would go through a process or somebody would go through the procedures to block the intent of the charter like we've seen over the last few days. It has been an embarrassment to the party. It caused a major floor fight on at the state convention. And Ms. Moore should be thankful to Montgomery County that they did not totally understand the situation. Otherwise, she would have a letter sitting on her desk asking for her resignation. The vote was that close. We will proceed tomorrow night, so any interested parties, I would suggest that they come to the Central Committee meeting. Now, we did have a deadline, but I think some people may have voiced their process that they wanted to be considered. So we were going to submit 3 names to you. Go ahead.
Can I respond to
Sure.
this? At the swearing in oath of office, Mike and I did have short statements about this position. And I wanted to say that the public may not understand the Central Committee was duly elected by the public to fill vacancies. And
Absolutely.
I don't think people understand.
It's an inherent duty of the Central Committee, along with other party duties, but that's the one thing that we interact. We fill slots from the election board, we used to fill school board slots back when they were not elected, and other positions. So that is definitely, not, that was the intent of the charter, was to be filled by a thing, not for somebody to change party in the 11th hour when they knew what the ground game was going into the election. To me, it's an abomination, and it takes away from, and it can happen, the shoe can be on the other foot. The shoe could very easily be on a Democrat's foot or another Republican, or for that case, an unaffiliated that won an election. I think it just destroys the whole process.
I also wanted to say the guardrail issue, I experienced that as well. Coming out of the Northeast Station, right in front of the state highway.
Right.
The sight distance is severely blocked
Right.
to where you can't see the oncoming traffic.
So I will draft language, and who would you like me to send it to?
Send it to Vicki Rieferman.
Okay, very good. I think we have your email. One other thing, what was I going to say? Just wanted to see this whole process move forward. Oh, I know what it was. And I've said this before last week. Charter, we were sold that John Q. Public was sold it was going to be cheaper. Now I read in the paper that we're modifying this brand new building to accommodate something in charter. I would like an explanation, A, how that is cheaper, and B, I would like to know, or in writing, how much that's going to cost. Because charter is not cheaper in my opinion. Thank you very much.
Okay, next, Harold Mechanic, sorry.
Mechanic, 694 McKinneytown Road, Elkton. Greetings to all of you. Greetings to our new form of government. Congratulations to our newly elected council person and executive. I'm not critical of her move. I think it broadens the pool from which we can draw a fifth council person. Also, I would like to comment on broadening public comment tonight. When we go into workshop session, there is no public comment. And it's very easy to, at that point, ignore the public. And it's really apparent here in the 11th hour of the past form of government, both with the bike path and the animal control ordinance. It was hijacked also with an emergency session. Come on. What are you guys afraid of? What are you afraid of? Are you afraid of the public comment? What are you afraid of? That's my comment. Thank you.
Next, Joyce Bowlesby.
I'd like to congratulate Dr. McCarthy and Robert Hodge on their recent success at the polls, and also Terry. But I'm really here tonight to talk about the animal control contract. We agreed when you signed this contract to pay Buddies for Life $60,000 a month over 3 years. That's $60,000 over 3 years, or $2,520,000. You've agreed to buy them 2 trucks, give them $10,000 in startup money, and they have no building in Cecil County as of right now. I'm very concerned about this because they also have no experience in animal control. And I think that the council owes the public an explanation as to why this was done. That's my comment.
Next, Dave Ford.
Good evening, Dave Fordyce, 115 Osage Street, Elkton. I was away on training for my job Thursday and Friday, and then I received 2 voicemails left on my phone talking about Terry Moore's switch of party. I didn't know much about it, but as I investigated it over the weekend, my dismay grew to disgust. I have resisted becoming involved in Cecil County politics because, from my point of view, it's so much paid place. You can see that here tonight with the arguing between the 2 factions. I don't care about your paid place. I don't. But with Ms. Moore's action, it's becoming apparent I have to get involved. I took a spin through the brand new, spanking new charter. I also took a look at the Maryland Constitution, specifically Article 11A, Section 5, which states that all you need to put something in referendum for the next election is 10,000 signatures. In that vein, I have 4 referenda that I think would be beneficial and help for a, quote, more dynamic, efficient, and responsive form of county government from page 4 of the charter. First one is to stop the ability of the county executive from switching parties immediately after an election. I think it's dishonest. If Ms. Moore wants to run as an unaffiliated member and get elected that way, more power to her. To me, it smacks of Jumpin' Jim Jeffords and Lincoln Chafee. What can we expect next? Her to show up at the Democratic convention and say, well, the Republican Party didn't have a place for me? All right. Number 2, if the county council deadlocks over appointing somebody to fill the vacancy, put the vote back to the people. This is Article 2, Section 209, subparagraph D of the charter. I think it's the people's choice. Number 3, all county decisions, including the contents of the county journal, which I read in the charter, should be posted for review on a public and publicly available website. I shouldn't have to go to a bulletin board to find out what's going on. Number 4, a provision should be added facilitating the recall of the county executive and or county council members as they serve at the pleasure of the people. To quote one of my favorite science fiction movies, Dune, there's a line in there that the protagonist says, "The sleeper has awakened. I have awakened."
Next on the list, Mario and Jen.
Mario Gangemi, 1 Woodline Circle, Milton. You know, I have a speech here. It's actually the second one I wrote today. I was pretty excited that we switched to charter government, and I was pretty excited, you know, that we're now embarked on a system of checks and balances. I'm kind of going to rip this up and throw it away. I can't rip up my iPad, but I can at least delete it. I got to tell you, I'm extremely disappointed in the actions of council. You guys are not working together, and frankly, that's what we expect of you. As citizens of Cecil County, it's very frustrating. We're not moving forward in this county. For the last 2 years, we've been exhibited with dysfunction and misplaced priorities. We got to do better. I'm asking, I'm imploring. We have a big problem in this county. We got a big problem in this country, but we have the opportunity to do something about it in Cecil County. We're ripe for growth. We're ripe for bringing in good jobs for the citizens of Cecil County. But you guys aren't even focused on that. You're focused on animal control. You're focused on, you can't even decide who the president is going to be on a temporary basis. On behalf of the citizens of Cecil County, put your differences aside. Put your egos aside and work together. Let's get this solved. Let's get back to doing what's best for Cecil County and not for you as individuals. Thank you.
Ron Lobos.
I'd like to congratulate Alan McCarthy and Robert Hodge in becoming our newest councilman. I also want to extend my ill feelings about Diana Brumel and Michael Dunn not showing up for their inauguration. I think that was very out of line. I think you should have come together. I saw Alan extend an olive branch there, and you weren't there to accept it. You know, that's very disturbing. You should be working as a team. I don't see that right now. But let's put that aside. Let's talk about what's been happening over the last 3 weeks while Terry Moore was ready to accept her position as Cecil County Executive. Diana, Mike Dunn, I want to thank you for passing the bicycle path ordinance. That was a great ordinance, it really was. And it's only going to cost us $11,000 per mile. We can widen our lanes. We can take another 18 feet of people's property down 213. And I'm going to tell you, this is a great idea to do this because I'm going to tell you, I probably have hundreds of friends who ride bicycles that want to use these bike paths. Well, maybe not hundreds, maybe it's 50. Well, maybe it's 10, I'm not sure. You know what, come to think of it, I don't know anybody that rides up and down these roads on bicycles that we need to spend $11,000 per mile to pay for these bike lanes. Holy cow. But you know what? While we're here, we don't want to offend anybody, right? So I have friends who have horses. Why don't we have horse lanes? So we'll have automobile, bicycle, and horse lanes. Let's have another, let's take care of everybody here while we're at it. Let's not offend anybody. And you know, I was thinking, you know, since Commissioner Brumel, Michael Dunn took office in the last 2 years, where has our growth corridor gone up and down Route 40? I haven't seen any new businesses there. None.
By the time we get this whole thing straightened out with the artesian well and trying to build infrastructure and trying to get businesses to come into Cecil County, we're going to have the Chinese here. You may think that's funny, but I want to make a proposal tonight. If you're going to have a bicycle lane and a horse lane, hey, what the hell? Let's just have a rickshaw lane, you know? Let's have rickshaws. Because the Chinese will be here before you get anything done up there. Do you understand that? You've been here for 2 years, so don't interrupt. Do you understand me? Okay. Second, I want to thank you for the Rolling Mill Bridge. Oh, what a great idea. There's at least, what, 12, 18 houses on that road where the Rolling Mill Bridge is. What a great place to spend $500,000. Man, I'll tell you what, we can't spend money for the tech school at Basil, but we can spend $500,000 on a bridge that they weren't even asking for. Councilwoman Brumell, you went and approached Bob McKnight. He didn't approach you on that. Thank you for that too. I'm going to tell you, your decision on that, you are not right. Animal control. Oh my God, what a great deal we have. We have a friend of Councilwoman Brumell. Her name is Mindy Carletti. She's going to start a new business. And we're going to finance it in this county. We're going to give her $3 million over the next 3 years. She has no permanent facility. She has no established record or track record. She has no vehicles to do this with. But she's a friend of Councilwoman Brumell. So let's just give her $3 million over the next 3 years. It's a lot of money. Councilwoman Brumell, you are not right in the head.
Come on.
Okay, are you done?
Don't interrupt me. I have mine. You can talk afterwards.
Okay.
All right? This is my time. I know that you have made a lot of poor decisions over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Numerous ones. And I'm not behind you on this. I think you're a poor council person. And I hope you can learn to work with others. Thank you very much, and see you next Tuesday.
Okay. Well, Mr.
Go ahead, I'm right here.
Mr. Lowe's, that bike plan that you dislike so much, and I noticed that you're a fan of Carrie Moore. She actually...
Is your time up or is my time up?
She voted for that plan.
I'm not talking to her, I'm talking to you.
I understand, but...
Okay, I hope you do.
On what basis do you say I'm a friend of Mindy Carletti's?
You are her friend.
Well, I guess...
Are you telling me you're not her friend?
I would say I'm not her friend.
You're not her friend. Okay, well, wow. Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead and send in your definition of a friend.
Go ahead and tell me what relationship you have with her.
Point of order.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. See you next Tuesday.
Diane Carabetta.
Diane Carabetta, 1611 Carpenters Point Road, Perryville, Maryland. Just for the record, I am a little disturbed that someone would attack my beloved vet, Dr. Carlotti, because she is fabulous and I love her. So is my husband. I'd like to congratulate the new council members. I'm assuming that you're still Republican. I hope that you are. You haven't abandoned the party that elected you, and you're currently serving as Republicans in favor of smaller government and less taxes. Alan, I love it. Good government is everyone's business. Robert, as you said yesterday, hold government accountable and help implement good ideas. So, we often talk about the inconsistencies between various local documents, and I am following up on the changes that were supposed to be made to the zoning ordinances in preparation for charter government. I'd like to find out where I can get a copy of the changes they were supposed to add approved by council to them and fix various other problems with it. And I want to make sure to follow through so that there's transparency and efficiency, and the county taxpayers that paid for the documents have 24/7 access to them. I think that all the zoning things should be on there, so if a friend comes over and says, hey, in ag, can I have a winery? I can say, here, right here, print it out for him. Just by going on a website, not without having to pick up the phone. I found it interesting that Friday night at the Republican convention, Andy Harris told me, don't worry about the replacement for council, they're already picked. I would like the person, and I said, I hope they're running for re-election in 2 years, and he said, no, they're just gonna fill out the term. That's pretty disturbing when the congressman already knows who the pick is. Regarding the county executive, history is made, and we're at the point of no return. It's time to free myself of the anger and hurt more perpetrated on the Republican Party, and in particular on my husband, who loyally served on the Central Committee for many years, and even handed out her flyers at Cherry Hill Election Day. As we work to rebuild the brand that her unethical behavior destroyed, I must say in the grand scheme of things, I'm always up for a challenge, and I never did mind much about the little things. So, in honor of our beloved new county executive, I have created the Terry Moore Rudd, rhymes with crud, decision maker wheel. Every morning when Miss Moore awakes, she can spin the dial and figure out, is she a unaffiliated, Republican, or Democrat today? If this works, I think that we could put up things for economic development in favor or against. We could put up budget actions. We could put up other things. We could save a lot of money, and she can get up in the morning, decide who she is, and how she is going to vote each day. We can cut back on personnel and save a lot of money.
Give that to Bruno. Yeah. Give that to Diane. It really matter, does it? Yeah, it does. Hey, come on, guys.
There's one thing I can count on Diana Brumall. She ran as a Republican. She remained a Republican. She has been steadfast in cutting taxes.
Oh my God.
Who the hell cares if she's a Smithkin or a Angela or whatever?
I care. And she voted for it.
We all care. Order, please. Order in the audience, please. This is public comment, and there's one person up there that is supposed to be speaking. Thank you. Next on the list is Robert Amato.
Robert Amato, P.O. Box 679, Perryville. I'm speaking to the Republican convention over the weekend. I attended as a delegate. I'm held a proxy from the Central Committee member. I'm not a member of the Central Committee. Joe mentioned, Mr. Carabetta mentioned that there was confusion on the part of the good thing there was confusion on the part of the Montgomery County delegation, which is a big voting bloc. And I assume his calculation is that if they had voted a different way, then the resolution would have carried. I can say, because I was there, that the whole room was confused. Because I, as a delegate, for one, did not get a copy of this resolution at any time during the preceding the convention or at the convention. I got a copy inadvertently the night before. And the presenter, Mr. Zuaskis, chairman of the Cecil County Republican Central Committee, began his presentation with a lie. He said that this move by Terry Moore meant that the person, because she was unaffiliated, that the person filling the seat had to be registered unaffiliated. That is an absolute lie. There was lots of conversation about this before the meeting, and during the meeting, people were absolutely confused. The speaker, I spoke against the resolution. Another delegate spoke against the resolution and said she needed more information. It was convoluted. It was as much against Andy Harris as it was against Terry Moore. The speaker I'm referring to said, this reads like a criminal charge. What's it all about? There was massive confusion on the resolution. I spoke against it, I voted against it, and I'm glad it failed. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Monner, I wanted to point out, it was 220 people were not confused, and they voted to support it. The
No.
200, no.
You're using my time.
No, you said you.
You're using my
Go
time.
ahead, you-
You're using, I still have
Go
time
ahead,
left.
speak.
It was not 220 people. It's a weighted average method of voting. There were not 500 people in the room.
Well, I mean,
People were confused, did not understand it, and there were a lot of people who were angry at her for the party switch. And I would say that they did not understand the whole process and did not have access to the county charter to decide, and it should have been presented ahead of time. It should have been presented to everyone before the convention.
can I talk?
Well, you can talk, I don't have to listen.
Okay, well, it's interesting. I just wanted to say that, you know, there's a lot of loud noise that you hear out in the audience, and it's the same people. Mr. Fordyce, thank you for your comments, but this is the same crowd that comes every week, it seems, and they're very vocal. And we need to really keep this meeting under control. You need to keep your comments, your clapping, just state what you're in opposition to, state your comments, but we need to keep all the other stuff under control.
That concludes the public comment for the meeting. The next item on the agenda is introduction of Resolution 01-2012, real property tax credit for property located in Precipio Business Park. You have Lisa Webb, Director of Economic Development.
Good evening, council members. Provided you with a copy of the resolution 012012. This resolution is being introduced this evening, and I believe I've also provided you with a handout on the enterprise zone tax credits by the state of Maryland. This resolution would enable W.R. Principio Parkway LLC to take advantage of a 10-year real property tax credit on the additional 600,000 square feet, which was recently completed for Restoration Hardware. This is a newly expanded facility, now totaling 1.2 million square feet. They already received tax credits on their first 600,000 square feet of office space and warehouse. Restoration Hardware was approved earlier this year by the commissioners as a fast track designation. It was a $24.7 million expansion. 150 newly created jobs were expected. After a recent tour of the facility, they've actually upped that number to about 200 new jobs. So in front of you, you do have the information of the request. This goes after you've had an opportunity to review this. You will then vote on it. This will then go to the state assessment office, where they will handle all the management of the tax credit through our assessment office as well. That tax credit for 10 years is, the first 5 years is an 80% credit over the base assessment of the property. So any of the improvements that were made, that delta is what is the tax credit. And then in the following 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 years, it depreciates over 10% over those remaining years. In addition to the property tax credits, Restoration Hardware will also be able to take advantage of job creation tax credits. They handle that through the state level. It's simply a form that they have to complete to send in. There is no county resolution that will be required. Are there any questions I can answer for you at this time regarding the enterprise zone or this particular project?
Well, this is a good story for Cecil County, the addition of Restoration Hardware. This is an additional business that's coming to the county. And with the creation of additional jobs, past what we were anticipating, is also good news. Do you know what the average paying job? I think I had asked you that before.
They did not supply that information to me, but I can get that for you.
Okay.
They're working with Susquehanna Workforce Network on fulfillment. They do not have that fulfillment completed yet, so they'll be doing job fairs. So I believe Bruce England may have that information for me. I can give him a call from.
Other questions from the council?
Director Webb, you have indicated that the Restoration Hardware's occupancy of the existing 600,000 foot building has created a little over 2,000 jobs thus far. Do you know how many additional?
I'm sorry, the first section of the building, there's only about 40 employees in there now.
Okay.
The second building, once it's fully operational, and that'll be over the course of the next 2 years, will be approximately 200 total employment.
Okay. Thank you.
Is this only a state tax credit, or does it apply to the counties also?
It is the county's property tax credit, which is why the resolution. It's a state designated zone. It's a state designated zone.
Because there's two parts of the property tax, a state and a county.
Yes,
so it applies to both.
It applies to the counties.
Only the county?
Correct.
And it's 80% of reduction on the property tax per year for the first 5 years?
Correct.
Okay.
On that delta. So there's a base assessment on the property, of an unimproved property. Once the capital investment has been made, it's the delta between the base assessment and that assessed value with the capital improvements.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, being no more questions, this item will be on your agenda for the December 18th council meeting for consideration.
Thank you, council members.
Next on the agenda is confirmation of executive appointment for the Director of Administration. In your packet is information and a memo from County Executive Terry Moore for confirmation on the appointment of Alfred C. Wine Jr. as the Director of Administration.
I move to approve the confirmation of the executive appointment of for Director of Administration for Alfred C. Wine Jr.
I have a motion on the floor to approve the recommendation, to confirm the recommendation of the Director of Administration. Do I have a second?
I'll second
I have a first and a second, open for discussion.
I am gonna vote to table this until the long form is filled out, from the changes that were made in the Ethics Commission, that the directors fill out the long form.
The motion is to approve, not to table.
Yeah, the motion is to approve.
I understand, I'm gonna vote in opposite.
Mr. Wine should be evaluated on the current statute that she's referring to, and the new one does not go into place until January 1, I do believe.
Okay. And that's what I'd like to speak to. I spoke with the Ethics Commission Chair and Donna Nichols from Human Resources, and once those changes were adopted, that's when they went into effect. So I believe it was in August that we had accepted those changes. And I spoke with Director Wine, and he has no problem in filling out the long form. And I want to commend him too. He added this statement, disclosure statement. He didn't have to, but because he did, it got me to thinking I would like to see all the directors' disclosures if they're. And you know, I guess part of the discussion is going to be later on if that's if you're being recommended for appointment. If at that point we can ask for that. In this case, yes, I can because he is the acting director. but the people that are being appointed for the new directors, if they're not current employees, I'm not sure if I can ask for their disclosure statement in advance. But I've just been a strong proponent of disclosure. I want to make sure that there's no conflicts of interest. It's just been my position all along. So that's the reason, I just wanted to provide the reason why I would be voting against that motion to approve this or not.
For balance.
Yeah.
Under the equity in the code, it says that an incumbent official shall file a financial disclosure statement annually, no later than April 30th of each year for the preceding calendar year.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have to file until April 30th. He had to file voluntarily. And he's not being appointed to fill vacancy, so he doesn't have to file one. If he was being appointed to fill vacancy, he'd have 30 days to do that.
I've gotten other information that when we had approved the changes that they went into effect. So let me, I've gotten confirmation, and Director Wine said he wouldn't have a problem with filling that out.
Then I would take him on his word and confirm him today and allow him to provide to you whatever you want after the confirmation. I don't think we should hold up this confirmation. Mr. Wine has been a very valued employee for many, many, many years in Cecil County. He has never run across any allegations of fraud or unethical behavior, and I don't think that we should. He made a mistake because he supplied some disclosure information. He never had to, the executive did not have to provide any disclosure information in this confirmation process. Because he provided some information to you, you're going to suggest that he didn't go far enough.
No.
And therefore you're going to vote against him. So I think that's a ridiculous comment.
I don't want to give the appearance that I am thinking he did anything intentional. I think I went out of my way to say I don't believe he did. And I commend him for providing the disclosure document in the first place. I think this opens up the question about the new appointments and the director position, whether we can see the disclosure document at that time. So
Then you should say, here on out, Mr. Executive, when you provide a confirmation for us to approve, make sure that the disclosure form is available to us.
well, thank you for that, and I will. But I
But
also
this time around, I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
We are referring to Mr. Wine, not any open position. He's all well known to all of us. I think he should be approved and it should be done tonight.
Well, as I mentioned, I've gotten conflicting answers, and just two other weeks for confirmation. It's not asking for too much.
If I might add, this is the problem we have here. We're pushing this back and back and back and back and back. Why do we not just close this government down for 2 months? Would that be acceptable?
There's a motion and second on the floor to.
Does Mr. Dunn have some comments?
I didn't want to step over Alan's applause line there, but I agree with Councilman Hodge. I think an acceptable compromise, and Diana, I hope you're open to this as well. If we can move this along tonight, I think Al is more than willing to file the disclosure form, and I don't want this to be any reflection on him personally. I think we're all familiar with his qualifications, but would that be an acceptable compromise?
Well, if we could just see that.
Well, we have to
Speak up.
I would,
Like to call the vote.
yes, I would like to call Al White to the table. Yes.
Yes.
Afraid, once again, I'm going to provide
Too much
too
information.
much information. What I'd like to say, I think what you just saw in the ethics ordinance, chapter 39, I've submitted all the proper disclosures pursuant to the county laws and ordinances, and that's what I've provided you. I do not feel that I'm required to provide anything in addition to that.
Well, Al, I appreciate that you gave this to me. I need, as I said, I got two different answers in opposition to what I'm hearing this evening. And, I'd like to take a look at this. If I could just have one more, we can do this, confirmation at our next work session.
No.
But I am hearing that those changes that were made went into effect, and that, the chair of the Ethics Commission believed that it was supposed to have been followed through. She was just waiting until January to have received, to request the new changes be filed.
You are correct in that those new disclosure forms will be required for the 2012 calendar year, which I haven't submitted. I'm not required to submit that until April 30th of next year.
Okay.
So I've done more than I had to do.
You know, we have a conversation.
And I'm in compliance
Yeah.
with those financial disclosure requirements. I just want to go on record. I do not feel that I am, I have to submit anything else.
So at this time, you would like to be voted on this evening, and I know we had the conversation, you didn't have a problem with filling it out, but you don't want to fill it out in advance.
I will be filling that out when I'm required to, as every other county employee.
Is that acceptable?
Is there any other
You didn't know,
discussion?
I would like for the new appointments to have filed the new required disclosure forms.
The new appointments will have to within 30 days.
Okay.
If they haven't already filed one, for instance, the director of finance.
I guess what I'm
If he
asking
will
for
have to
is
file-
confirmation in what you're saying.
It's in the law. It's council law.
Yes,
It's-
Al,
it's-
we spoke on the phone, you didn't say this when we
I
were
just-
discussing.
I-
You just said
I
it
did-
now,
I
but
didn't have
I'm
time.
telling you, I did have differing opinion, and I was wanting to follow through. Just 1 week, I understand you're probably not gonna vote in favor, but, I guess I'm just wanting clarification. What you're saying sounds reasonable, I'm just wanting 1 week for clarification.
Yeah, I'm just citing the law.
Please call the vote.
There's a motion and a second on the floor to confirm the appointment of the Director of Administration, Alfred C. Wine Jr. I call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No?
I have a roll call vote, please. McCarthy? Roll call vote.
For L1.
Brunel?
No?
Hodge?
I'm in favor of the confirmation.
Dunn?
No.
The vote is 2-2.
She gave you the eye.
I think this is a total embarrassment.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Next on the agenda are budget amendments. We have budget amendments 49 through 52, 49 through 52. Budget amendment 49, do you want to do these separately or together?
Separately.
First budget amendment is number 49, this is to transfer funding. This is to transfer funding from the council budget to the county executive budget for the executive office administrator position.
I move to table this amendment until after a council manager is appointed and on board.
There's a motion on the floor to table this budget amendment. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a first and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Second, budget amendment number 50 is to appropriate grant funds for a new phone system in the state's attorney's office.
I move to approve the budget amendment number 50 to transfer grant money or apply grant money for the phone system in the state's
We
attorney.
have a motion on the floor for approval. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I have a first and a second. Is there any further discussion? Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved unanimously. Next budget amendment is number 51, to encumber funds needed for a telephone account through the DPW Roads Division.
I move to transfer surface treatment funding in the amount of $7,700 from surface treatment to, and it's really for installation and monitoring of GPS units and mower units, roadside mowers.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? No second? Is there another motion?
I'll make a motion that we disapprove. I think this is a motion to disapprove.
There's a motion on the floor to disapprove. Is there a second?
I abstain for this, I don't understand that.
Second.
Was that a second?
Second, yeah.
There's a second.
I feel like this is very extravagant to have the GPS on the mowers. I think this money could be served better if it went back into the general fund.
I wish that the Department of Public Works representative was here, and this is going to be a problem as we go forward, because the person that offered this amendment isn't here to defend this budget amendment. And certainly I think that the council members would understand this better if there was a better explanation. But I believe I understand what it is, and what it is this. As a commissioner, I've heard numerous complaints about my road banks are not getting mowed. And in some cases, they were mowed, but the grass grew back. And with GPS units, the Public Works Director, the Roads Division, can go back and research and find out was the road mowed, when was the road mowed, where were the mowers, when did they stop, have they been taking naps, or are they working? And quite frankly, I think this is a management tool. A management tool to get more efficiency out of our mowing crew. And for $7,700, I think it's a good investment. So that's why I supported it. And I'm sorry I didn't explain it better, but we'll have to revisit this probably next week.
Well, Councilman Hodge, I think you bring up a good point on getting the information on whether or not this is a good investment. And if we, have the department saying why, that's one side of it. That's why we need an in-house auditor that we can assign them research on whether or not they.
I don't believe that an in-house auditor is going to justify the budget request that department heads are going to make to us.
Could we not table this till another time, get the explanation from the person presenting it?
Excuse, point of order.
There's a motion on the floor to disapprove the budget amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
You abstain.
I abstained initially, I changed my mind, is that capable? I think we should table this thing until we have the full explanation, period.
Would you like to make
Form of a motion?
Yes, I move that we table it until another time and get the explanation.
There's a motion on the floor to table budget amendment 51. Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion?
I think there's some confusion on what the purpose of this budget transfer is, and I think that we need to be better informed by the Roads Division to explain it, why it's worth the investment.
There's a motion on the table to table. Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Budget amendment has been tabled, will be tabled. Next budget amendment is to appropriate a budget for the grant awarded by the Maryland Administrative Office of the Courts to the Circuit Court to fund security upgrades at the courthouse in the amount of $24,500.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second
I have 2 seconds. All in favor? Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to say to the public that there was a study done at our Cecil County Courthouse in Elton that indicated that that building was built a long time ago and not up to standards with safety. Safety primarily from the prisoners that are escorted throughout the courthouse. In most new courthouses, there's corridors where the prisoners are never in public spaces. And since our courthouse is old, it doesn't have any of those provisions. And so there was money allocated from the Maryland Administrative Office of the Courts as a grant to help Cecil County upgrade our current courthouse in the amount of $24,500, and this is a budget amendment to account for that grant money.
There's no further, is there further discussion? Call for a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. That concludes our meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I second
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.